That was a nice intro. We do have one coming. I was actually working on that the other day. I said, let me do that. I wanted to have it done today, and time got away from me because I'm tired of you yelling at me.
I don't yell. I do not yell, sir.
What? What had happened?
I don't yell. So I don't know what you're talking about. I don't yell. Not what I do. Mm-mm.
Whatever you got to tell yourself, to get through today, go ahead. Go ahead.
With that being said, hi everybody. You are back for another episode of the Teacher Project 2.0. Listen, y'all. I'm about to quote El Teddy right now. I don't know what y'all want from us.
What do you want from us? I don't know what y'all want
I
from
don't know
us.
what y'all want from us. How was your week, sir?
It has been very busy. It has been a very this is a rare weekend where I don't have to go out of town again. So I'm gonna lay down on my behind all weekend, have a drink or two, maybe do some laundry or something like that. But I'm not
Oh, I
gonna be
gotta do
bothered with the world.
laundry. Oh, matter of fact, when I get
I'm
off of
not gonna be
here,
bothered with the world.
yeah, when I get off of here, that's when I'm about to go upstairs and get my laundry together and put in a load. Cause I gotta start packing and getting my life together because I got have packing up the school at the end of the year, school stuff, and then like I told you, I'm moving to a new building, so I have to actually pack for real. Like normally we could just put stuff in the closet and just figure it out in the fall if we really just
Mhm.
get tired. But baby, I got to figure it out now. So that's what I was doing today. I was actually cleaning stuff out and figuring out what I need to take with me and all that good stuff. And then I got to worry about here because literally I'm this time 2 weeks from today I'm going to actually be in Disney World. So got a lot going on. So yeah, with that being said, you guys, unless you're living under a rock, we know that there's a serious situation going on out in LA.
And you can come to
Um,
my channel to get full. Why am I so dark? Hold on, let me turn on the lights in there. But you could come to my channel and get all of the details on what's going on over there. Shameless plug.
yeah, I mean, if you're not already subscribed to El Teddy, I'm not sure why. I'm not sure what you're waiting for. What up, Don Don? What you just doing Diddy coverage, sir? Like, sir,
Right. That's
didn't
where
I
I
just
go to
see
get all
you?
my Diddy coverage.
Right, didn't I
Don
just see you
Don
doing Diddy
between him and
coverage over there,
Pam.
sir?
Him, Pam, and
Wow.
Pascal. Those my three right there. Shout out to Pascal.
Yeah, Pascal, I watch him too. Yeah, yeah, yeah. All right, you guys. So, unless you've been living under a rock or you haven't been watching El Teddy, um, there's a there's a kerfuffle going on down to the LA. Where they trying to trick y'all into thinking that LA is burning down. But as we do over here, we cover the education aspect of it. So we want to give you guys an update of what's going on as it is connected to LA schools. You know what I want to do too? And this is just a sidebar, LTD. I noticed that I did a TikTok video about 3 years ago on Ron Clark Academy. And because of that clip that went viral from the graduation with Ron Clark, of course, now it's all in rotation. And I'm getting all these comments under a video I did 3 years ago on TikTok where people want to know what problem I had with the Ron Clark Academy. So I wouldn't mind. I know we've done one in the
Attacking
past, but
him.
I wouldn't mind us revisiting
I think we did
charter
Kennedy
versus
in the past. Didn't
public.
we do Kennedy in the past?
We did
Didn't we do a
Kennedy.
video?
We did Kennedy.
Okay.
Right. But I just want us to go back. I feel like we need to go back because and again, the Ron Clark Academy, I don't want to get too far off on it, but I just want us to do a video on it. Because yeah, doing a cute dance that goes viral with your students does not mean moving right along. Again, I just want us to revisit that. Moving right along.
Okay.
Let's get into this article. This is coming from The Hill. It is dated June the 16th. Um, amid Trump Newsom fight, funding threats
June
excuse me,
16th.
funding threat sends chill through California schools. So while they want y'all to pay attention to, while Nero, fiddled, Rome is burning. So let's get into it.
I just want to make that correction. June 11th. You said June 16th. I was like, wait,
Oh
we ain't
Lord,
got there
I'm
yet.
sorry. Where I get okay, my
You
gosh.
saw the 6th
Lord
for
have
June.
mercy. That must be what it was. June the 11th, y'all. I'm sorry. So let's get into it. Okay. Immigration protests in Los Angeles and President Trump's military response are dominating the news cycle, but it's Trump's threats to disseminate California's federal funding that has education experts worried. Golden State schools will be particularly harmed by such a move, advocates say, and in many places, state and local leaders could struggle to make up the difference. Trump and Governor Gavin Newsom have raged at each other this week over protests against the former immigration crackdown, with the president floating Newsom's arrest and the governor seeking an emergency judicial intervention to stymie Trump's deployment of the National Guard, which was denied. But Trump's funding threats came before the anti-immigration and customs enforcement clashes in Los Angeles, originally spurred by a transgender high schooler qualifying for the state track and field championship. In capital letters, he wrote, "This is not fair and totally demeaning to women and girls," he said in a post on Truth Social late last month. "Please be hereby advised that large-scale federal funding will be held back, maybe permanently, if the executive order on the subject matter is not adhered to." Then on Friday, reports emerged that the administration was advancing plans for sweeping cuts, with the White House criticizing California on issues including immigration and energy. California K-12 schools received $8 billion from the federal government for 24-25 school year, making up to 6% of the state's K-12 funding, according to Legislative Analysis Office. State lawmakers currently plotting out the next fiscal year may have to make sudden pivots. I think we're in the middle of state budget negotiations right now, that these conversations are very much live. But we know California is ready and willing to push back and to keep the promise of access to an education, access to a college degree for millions of Americans and for Californians. Okay. Here, said Josh Hagan, vice president of the policy and advocacy at the Campaign for College Opportunity. I don't know why I wanted to say like Califloridians, like Floridians. I don't know why I wanted to do that. I don't know why I wanted to put an L in there. Anyway, while no money has yet been frozen, Trump has previously targeted both states and schools with federal funding cuts in order to try and get them to bow to his demands. And the president, who has embraced the Los Angeles fight over immigration, could use it to justify action he was already eyeing. The administration has threatened cuts to education and crucial social programs that the entire country working class communities rely upon. Now he has the working of people in California in his crosshairs, at the same time that his unlawful sending of the National Guard and now the Marines here to California to increase the terror his administration is inflicting upon our immigrant communities, says Rhonda Wabi, president of the Community College Association and affiliate of the California Teachers Association. The potential cuts would be destabilizing to our faculty, to our students, to our staff, and to our communities. Our students need more resources and opportunities, not fewer. Our communities need more investment, not less. Wabi said, so these threats and attacks are not only cruel, but they're also dehumanizing. She pointed out that although California has the largest higher education system in the country, almost 70% of faculty are part-time, creating an already difficult situation with the budget, as she argues these employees are not paid enough. And California students are, like those nationwide, are still struggling with learning loss and other test score related problems. The 2025 Education Recovery Scorecard in February found the average U.S. student last year remained nearly half a grade level behind in math and reading compared to pre-pandemic levels. Our country has been decreasing in terms of overall education performance compared to the rest of the world, says Marshall Tuck, CEO of EdVoice. At the time, where our community is already losing ground to other countries in education, where is a huge problem for us, competitive and long term, we absolutely should be investing in education, not cutting it. If Trump administration follows through with the cuts, there's no foolproof plan to make up the gap. Conversations are ongoing on the state legislature, and schools have some reserves, but these would not last for long. In the article, oh, I'm almost done. I don't know why I thought the article was longer than this. Okay, give me a sec. I'm almost done. I thought it was a lot longer than this. Okay. And California students, like those nationwide, are struggling with learning loss and other test score related problems. The 2025 Education Recovery Scorecard. Did I read that already? I did read that. Sorry. If Trump administration follows through with the cuts, I just read that. I know our community colleges have district reserves that will need to tap into and help students necessary services. The amount of reserves in which district varies, so that's not a long-term solution, says Wabi. Kendra Britt, the director of communication for California County Superintendents, pointed out that students from immigration communities could be squeezed from two different directions, facing ICE arrest among their family and friends while their schools see budget cuts. And the onslaught of threats that we've been receiving since he came into office has always been where it's going to hit vulnerable students the most, Britt said. Now, obviously, this huge focus on immigrants hitting low-income communities, English learners, things like that, is just a massive distraction and a time suck. If I'm being honest, she added. We're exhausted and our job is focused on providing services to students. This is an exciting time of year. It's graduation and it's just getting clouded by the continuous exhausting distraction from the federal level. Sorry about that, y'all. Some of those quotes were just seemed worded weird and it made me be like, huh? But anyway, go ahead, y'all. I mean, go ahead, El Teddy.
So we have this made up situation in California where they're looking for clicking a view and looking for ratings as if they are EPs for the next, reality show. And we have substantive things that are going on. I'm going to hit this from two sides. One side may not sound popular, but I want to say it thinking in the future. First, 6% may not sound like a lot. You're saying, oh, that's only 6%, but it doesn't sound like a lot. But this has effects on especially schools that are underfunded or in low income area. This may be able to provide an extra teacher, an extra co-teacher, an extra, and not just teachers, staff member, janitor, clerical, because it takes all of these entities and all of these people, an extra school bus driver or different things like that. It takes all of these stakeholders in order to make education work. This might be extra funding for a supplemental program that school wants to use to help those students. So while it may not sound like a lot, it being 6%, that could have, real effects on the quality of education at a lot of schools in a lot of areas. And that's the K through 12 hit. There's also going to be a hit on the collegiate levels, especially with community colleges and possibly even the state university system. So that could affect faculty. And when you start affecting faculty, you then affect course loads or what courses you're able to offer at those particular schools, because people just think of it as faculty on the university level, but then that affects, okay, a lot of us went to school where there was only one teacher who taught you had a course that everybody needed to take, and there was only one teacher who taught that course. And if you missed their class, baby, you had to wait and push your graduation back until that teacher taught it again. And so when you start taking money from these places, that's personnel. And generally, the first places personnel gets cut is the arts. First place. And now when you start cutting the arts and other things that make students want to be there, now you have students that are disengaged. Now you have people that students that don't want to be there. Now you may be forcing core teachers, core subject area teachers to do extra or supplementary things that they shouldn't have to do because you're not offering all of the enrichments courses that those students need to have. So all of that gets affected. But the other angle I want to hit this with, and this is with regard to this executive order and other executive orders. What I want people to understand is I think it's a bad practice to expect that states, even if the executive order is willfully illegal, wrong, and everything, I think it sets a bad precedence to just say we're not going to obey the executive order rather than go the correct route, which is to go through the courts. Go through the courts. Let the judicial system do what it's supposed to do. Strike them down. Say they're illegal and so forth. And I say that because every executive order is not bad. And there have been some executive orders, especially for us Black people, that we needed. Go back to the Lyndon B. Johnson administration. There were tons of things put in place through executive orders that directly benefited us. And it would have been, and we had states that were saying, I'm not doing it. Screw it. You know, a lot of states in the South said, screw that, I'm not doing it. And were forced to do it because the judicial system said, no, that's illegal. You have to do that. So I do think we do need to go through the formal process of taking it to the courts when we have these types of executive orders that come through and making sure that we see that through, because it won't always be this way. And there may be a president that comes along and they may have to, let's say a Democratic president comes in 2028, right? And they have to try to undo all of this mess, right? Some things aren't going to be able to just be done like that. There are going to have to be some executive orders and things put in place to negate and try to fix and right the ship for everything that's going wrong. And I'm going to shut up because I've talked for a long time.
No, I mean, I agree with everything you're just saying. Like you said, 6% doesn't sound like a lot because it's like, oh, well, that's less than 10% of their budget. But here's El Teddy covered one angle. I'm gonna cover a different angle. Okay, so like you said, that could be jobs. So let's just walk down the road of that could be jobs for special education teachers or teachers. There's some special education teachers who have special training, right? My aunt was a special education teacher, but she also had a couple of extra certificates so that she could deal with students who had traumatic brain injury and autism certificate, so that she was in high demand. She wasn't just a regular special ed teacher. She was also one that was in very much high demand. I say that to say this. Let's say you're the principal of a school district and you now have to figure out how you're going to hire enough special ed teachers, and you have a student that has a traumatic brain injury, or you have a high population of autistic students who need those extra services, but now you don't have the money to pay this person. So what happens now? Oh, well, the parent now is in a position where they can sue the school system. Oh, but wait a minute. They can't get any help in suing the school system because why? The Office of Civil Rights is gone in the Department of Education, thanks to Linda McMahon. So, like, it's all connected. And so when we say that, like, this is the plan, y'all, this is the plan. I need us. And when I say us, I mean us. I need us to stop putting Donald Trump on this level of him being an idiot. You may feel how you want to feel about Donald Trump, but the people around him, the people who wrote Project 2025, the people who are putting these plans in place, they're not dumb. And they see the chessboard, and it's all connected. This is not by accident. These things that are happening are not just slash and burn. These they know what they're doing. It's very much a plan. Anyway, but yeah, you guys,
they're distracting you. They're distracting California.
Yeah.
And all the while they're distracting everybody. They're taking money away.
Yeah, that's what I was actually getting ready to say. I kind of got tongue-tied in my head, but that's actually what I was getting ready to say. Like, y'all don't let them keep making you look left and right. Like don't let them keep
Like we can walk and chew gum at the same time.
Right,
I can
right. Don't let
acknowledge
them
the fact
keep
that
confusing us, you
I
know.
can acknowledge the fact that there's no reason for you to be over there all the while saying, and don't take the money that you're trying to take from my public schools as well.
Exactly,
Like we could
exactly.
walk and chew gum at the same time, just like y'all can.
Absolutely. The Office of Civil Rights has gone from the Centers for Medicare and Medical Services as well. Wow. Yeah. Terrence Green said they already have only one real janitorial service once a week in the school on base out here. Wow. And
We're not
again,
going to even talk about bus and transportation because that's something that's not talked about. That is a
yeah,
real problem
we
all
don't have
across the
enough bus
country.
drivers. We don't have enough bus drivers in the district where I work. And it has an effect across the board on everything
Mm-hmm.
from what time schools open, what time schools close. It has an effect on extracurricular activities, has an
Field
effect
trips and all
on
kinds of
field trips, it has
athletic.
an effect on, excuse me, on athletics, you know. So yeah, that's a whole. And then the janitorial service, again, if there's nobody cleaning the school, we know for anybody who's ever worked in a school, schools are the epicenter for rodents and mice. Like, y'all don't have to like it. It might sound nasty and gross you out, but it is the reality of what it is. And when I think of the amount of trash that is accumulated in one day, I can't imagine a school that doesn't have a real janitorial service. But I mean, I'm sure there's somebody pulling the trash and stuff, but like mopping floors, cleaning. I don't want to be
And then you
nasty,
got
but
to
I know
think of
they
the
don't clean
fact
them
that
bathrooms every day at my
you
school.
and you got to think of the fact that at schools, because you deal with all types it's a public place, you can't even use regular cleaning materials for that. There are
Right.
certain things that you have to use because people have
Mhm.
allergens and for a whole myriad of reasons. There are only certain things that could even be used when they're cleaning. So it's a whole lot that people don't think about that goes into that.
Yep. All right. Do we want to go to DEI or Harvard next? Where you want to go, sir?
Let's do Harvard. Let's do Harvard.
All right. Boy, when I tell y'all LTD be researching, y'all don't even understand what I mean when I say LTD be researching. Baby, this article comes from the Times of India.
The Times of India
India.
actually has a lot of good education stuff in it.
India. All right. It's also dated June the 11th. This is coming from the Times of India. What the Harvard investigation means for the future of diversity in U.S. higher education. A new congressional investigation into Harvard University's faculty hiring practices is drawing national attention and raising questions about the future of diversity efforts in U.S. higher education. With President Donald Trump leading a broader political campaign against diversity, equity, and inclusion policies, the Harvard case could be a turning point for how universities approach hiring across the country. Recently, 9 Republican members of the U.S. House Committee on Education and the Workforce sent a letter to Harvard President Allen N. Garber alleging that the university may be violating Title VII of the Civil Rights Act by considering race and gender in its hiring decisions. As reported by the Harvard Crimson, lawmakers demanded documents and internal policies that relate to hiring practices with a deadline of June the 25th of 2025. Focus on race and gender and hiring under legal scrutiny. The investigation was triggered in part by leaked internal documents published by conservative activist Christopher Rofo. Those materials included a 2023 Harvard guide that included faculty search committees to consider reading the applications of women and minorities first and give such candidates a second look, especially when placement goals were in place. As noted by the Harvard Crimson, the guide also recommended monitoring racial and gender diversity in applicant pools. The letter also cited interview prompts reportedly used by Harvard since 2021. Candidates were asked to define diversity, explain its role in their careers, and describe challenges in diverse environments. As quoted by the Harvard Crimson, lawmakers said these practices raise serious concerns under Title VII, which prohibits employment discrimination based on race or sex. Higher education experts believe the investigation could set a precedent that pressures other U.S. universities to revise or roll back DEI related hiring practices. Following a Title VII complaint filed by Andrea Lucas, acting chair of the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, Harvard Medical School removed several diversity focused programs and quietly deleted a public pledge on inclusive hiring. We talked about that a few episodes back. The timing of the probe also follows the U.S. Supreme Court's 2023 decision ending race based affirmative action in college admissions. While that ruling focused on Title VI, the Republican lawmakers argued, according to the Harvard Crimson, that the principle of equal treatment under the law certainly applies to Title VII as well. With multiple investigations already underway, into Harvard's conduct, including probes into campus anti-Semitism and research ties with China, lawmakers appear poised to increase pressure on elite institutions. As the Harvard Crimson noted, these marks and reemergence of the House Education and the Workforce Committee as a powerful force in congressional oversight. For many in academia, the Harvard investigation is not just about one university. It may be a signal of shifting legal standards and political realities for higher education across the U.S.
This is a real balancing act that has to be played here. Now we know just last week the Supreme Court ruled in favor of that white woman who claimed reverse discrimination because a gay man was given a promotion instead of her, and she claimed reverse discrimination because she's straight. So that has opened up a whole can of worms and set precedent for things like this hiring practices. The other thing that there's a needle that has to be threaded here. Left to themselves, white people are going to choose all white people. It's even some people who don't mean to, even people who aren't inherently racist. That is built into the fabric of this country, into the fabric of American culture, and into Western civilization, where where any proximity to whiteness is deemed right. Everything else is deemed lesser than or subpar, when in all actuality, they're probably well above. Some people have said the answer may be, oh, well, let AI simulators pick it. That doesn't work either, because AI is built off of learning people and learning what the norms are that human beings will do. That's one of the flaws with AI that some of the architects or engineers within AI have said. They said AI can be racist as well, because AI is built off of learning from people and experiences or history and different things like that. So there could be inherent biases even within something like AI that's supposed to not be biased. So then it makes sense. So that's one side. The other side is it makes sense to say, hey, yeah, you might want to give a second look at these people, because you probably just pushed them to the side because her name is LaShaquante Jackson, PhD. You automatically said, oh, well, I could go with Riley Logan here. And we know that there's biases just from name alone. There are biases from where your degree came from. Oh, you got a degree from Jackson State University. They have a degree from Brown. Yeah, I'm going with the Brown. Instead of saying, hey, take a second look over here. Did you really look through that? We as teachers do that. We tell students, go look at so-and-so and find the answer. And they brush right past the answer. And we have to tell them, go take a look at that again, because you missed. It was right there in your face. You missed it. And sometimes, because of unconscious biases, because of unconscious racism, discrimination, and bigotry built into the fabric of Western civilization, Western culture, American culture. You have to tell them, did you really look at this person? Because this person has 5 times more qualifications than this other person. Can you go back and look at that? So I think that there's a needle that has to be threaded here, because they're talking about the language with them forcing them to look back at the applications of women and other minorities. And what their pushback is, no, you can't tell them to look harder at certain people. This is a whole situation, and white people are going to find a way to make themselves the center of attention and keep this an Aryan nation. That's all.
So I too agree, El Teddy. I think that, I think until people start accepting the fact that we all have inherent bias that sometimes has to be policed because we don't even realize we're doing it. We don't even understand that we're doing it. And we certainly don't understand how it is acting out in our day-to-day life. And I think that is just like El Teddy said, even as educators, I listen, I had to check myself today. Let's just take race out of it. Let's just take race out of it. Let's take gender out of it. Let's take all of that out of it. As a teacher, you had some, let's just call a thing, baby. You got some students you just don't like. Just can my teachers in the chat say amen? You have some students that you just don't like. They're not likable people. But you have to sometimes check yourself and make sure that, especially in a subjective subject like English, history is history, but when I'm asking students to draw conclusions, or I'm asking them for their opinion on something, or I'm asking them to write an essay, you have to check yourself sometimes and say, hey, let me make sure I'm not penalizing this child because I just don't like them. Because the reality is, and El Teddy, you could probably speak to this because you taught AP and advanced classes and all of those things as well. Sometimes the biggest buttholes are those students. They're smart and they know they're smart.
Mm-hmm.
So just like sometimes we have to police ourselves in something like that, like you said, if I see a LaQuanda Jackson, if we're being honest with ourselves, yeah, they still write the essay. I mean, Chat GPT does it for them, but yeah, they still turn in essays. But that's another conversation for another day, child.
Whole nother conversation.
But if LaQuanda Jackson, like you said, PhD, turns in their resume, you see LaQuanda before you see PhD.
Sure do.
And once you see LaQuanda, you have already made up your mind.
Which is why sometimes people put just their initial. L. Jackson.
Yeah.
They might put their first initial and middle name. Her middle name might be Amber. L. Amber Jackson.
Right.
I've seen people do that for just that
I've
reason.
seen people do it as well. Oh, listen, if I'm calling a thing, I have recommended some of my students do that when they're applying for scholarships or they're applying for different things. I have said to them, hey, if their name was LaQuanda, I might have said to them, hey, you may want to put L. Amber Jackson. Because we understand inherent bias. And we understand that, no disrespect to your mama, but she set you up. She set you up. Del Leroy, your mama set you up. She ain't mean no harm by it, but she set you up. I mean,
y'all trying to force the mom and dad name into one name. Like, no, it does not work. You try to put every punctuation,
Leonte.
And then you put 3 or 4 punctuations in the middle of this child's name. Why, Lord?
Right. Tracy said, I know when they call Tracy Chappelle, and I show up.
Really can tell you, there's a whole reason behind why Black people would choose. There's a whole history and a whole lesson. That's another story for another time as to why Black people would choose eccentric names. There's a whole reason going back to slavery times about that. But we got that type of time now. But like I said, this is a needle that does have to be threaded because they're about to go back to the time where we walk into these places and it's all male and all white. And people are going to say, how did we get here? And we're going to have to remind them, oh, you forgot? People can't be trusted on and left to themselves to make this right.
Mm-hmm. Right. Tracy said, my mama gave us all regular first and last, first name. She said, now our middle names is a different conversation. Right. Right. Exactly. Excuse me. But like you said, El Teddy, it is a delicate thread, needle that needs to be thread. And honestly, part of the problem, and we've been saying this since January, you guys, and I'm going to keep saying it because it keeps coming up. Until they understand what DEI is, all of this is in trouble. All of this is in trouble because they don't understand what DEI is. Well, at least they have their own understanding of DEI, and that's not what it really is.
You know what really be? I feel completely opposite. I feel like they know exactly what it is. And I feel like they are just wanting it to be all white. I think they know exactly what DEI is. They know what it means. They are just wanting everything to be white and painting it as whatever is the popular colloquial saying at that time.
No, and I'm gonna tell you the reason why I say I don't think they understand it. And I'm not saying none of them do. When I say that they are, I'm talking about the people in charge. I'm not saying none of them do, but the reason why I say that is because when they started rolling these policies back and it started affecting the people they didn't mean for it to affect, that's why I say, oh, so you really didn't understand the brevity of what you were doing when you made this policy. But I understand what you're saying, and I do think that there's some people who just like you said, they got it. They just want everything to be white. But when we start when the and I'm not talking about the people who voted for the dumb shit. We know y'all didn't read. But some like for example, a Marjorie Taylor Greene, she don't know what the hell DEI is. She just know that this what they supposed to be doing and this what she want. Because if she knew, she would know that DEI included her. And actually, she's actually at the top of the list of DEI. So I don't know. I don't know, but I again, I understand your point on that. I do. We have one more article, and then we have an interactive activity we want to share with you guys. Let's get into this. This is another DEI article, which that's the world we're living in right now. We're living in a world of DEI. Let's get into it. Oh, I just opened up the wrong article. Give me a second. Okay. All right. This is coming from Fox 9. Out of Houston. Prior Lake Savage School Board rescinds DEI resolution in a 5-2 ruling. This is from June the 9th. This is coming from Fox 9 out of Houston. On Monday, families in Prior Lakes showed up in full force to protest outside of Prior Lake Savage School Board meeting. Protesters made it clear they did not want the board to rescind the district's equity and inclusion resolution. Supporters of the resolution argue it affirmed the district's commitment to combating racism and fostering inclusive environments. But critics said it failed to reduce a growing achievement gap, and they wanted to prioritize academic success and unity. By the end of the meeting, in a 5-2 vote, board members sided with those against the resolution. I'm pleased with their decision, Justin Mickelson said afterwards. We wanted to see this change. Not that we're against anyone or anyone's beliefs. We're just not happy with the direction of the district. I'm extremely disgusted by this, Sue LeGrand countered. This was strictly a bulldozing process. It was clear that this was done in the dark. Here's the backstory. In 2020, members of the Prior Lake Savage Area School Board passed an equity resolution after months of working and partnering with community members. It affirms the commitment of the board to supporting an anti-racist and inclusive environment for everyone that doesn't mandate any programs or initiatives. The full language of the resolution, okay, they have the hyperlink. In recent months, it has come under a microscope, and at their Monday meeting, the board is expected to take action and possibly rescind it, which they did. Former board member Michael Nielsen worked on the original resolution and says it is all happening with no discussion and no input. At a time in our country when marginalized groups are increasingly being silenced and targeted, to publicly decide on bringing forth this resolution and sunset it is just one more painful thing to have to endure. The school board chair, Daniel White, declined an interview with Fox 9 ahead of the board taking action on the issue, but he did say throughout the winter and spring of 2024, community members came together to develop a new strategic plan for the district. As we continue to work to ensure every student receives what they uniquely need for their best chance at success, the board will be discussing the equity and inclusion resolution to determine if it's still necessarily given the direction and comments outlined in our strategic plan. I mean, listen. At this point, just add it to the list. Go ahead, El Teddy.
I wanted to highlight this specifically this area. This is a suburb of Minneapolis. Now, Minneapolis.
Oh, I said Houston. I'm sorry. I said Houston. I apologize, y'all.
Yeah, this is a suburb of Minneapolis. And Minnesota is a purple state. Minneapolis is one of the blue areas of that purple state, and this is a suburb. And so I highlight this because what's happening here is we're seeing even the blue areas capitulate to all of this. So, there are some sentiments that even if I stay in a red state or whatever state I stay in, red, blue, or purple, if I'm in a blue centric area, I should be good. No, that's not how this is going. And the fact that this school board would surmise that, oh, we're worried more about students' test score. We don't have time, or student achievement. We don't have time to worry about DEI, when DEI can directly affect student achievement. Like the fact that you're sitting on an actual school board and could not deduce that a student that's in a minority or marginalized group may not feel safe if they don't see themselves included in the atmosphere around them. I'm just, I just want to make that make sense. It's like the saying that I always say about the forced integration that happened in the 60s and 70s. You integrated students, but you didn't integrate teachers. And there was the problem. There was the problem. And then when you integrated one group of people, you didn't integrate both. So then there was the next problem. So
I believe we read an article. Didn't we read an article about that, like way back in the beginning of when we first started doing the teacher project? I think we did an article on integration and how students were integrated, but the teachers weren't. Therefore, if you have a racist teacher, they didn't stop being racist just because you forced them to have Black students in their classroom. I mean,
right. So it's just a lot.
I don't really have anything to add. I just feel like we've seen this show before. We've seen this show before. When we start talking about, like you said, rolling back DEI, it's bigger than the red states. Like, this is happening across the country. And once again, we're back at where I feel like these people, and again, yes, a lot of people do absolutely get it. They absolutely know what they're signing up for. They absolutely know what they're getting. But I also think that some of the people that are just pawns in this game, and they don't realize it until it's going to be knocking on their front door. And it's like, knock, knock, knock. What's up, Lexi? Hey, boo. But anyway, um, so we have an interactive activity for you guys. I'm going to pull it up on screen now, and El Teddy is going to share with you guys. Hey, Steven. Hey, the doctor is going to share it with you guys. Oh, excuse me, y'all. I'm so sorry. I feel like I need to go take a nap. I feel like I need to figure out. I feel like I need to figure out what I want to do for dinner, even though I'm not hungry right now.
I'm
Um,
really hungry, and I still got to do a live, and I'm really hungry.
See, I'm not. I'm not hungry at all. I ate a late lunch, but I know that probably around 8 o'clock I'm going to be hungry. Um, so I need to get back on the bandwagon. I've been eating a lot lately, and I need to get back on my grind. Um, but I haven't. All right, here we go. The Interactive 2025 Data Book. So let's get into it. Oh, my computer is so slow. All right, you can see it now. Can you see it on the screen, El Teddy?
Can you take the comments down?
Yes.
The yeah.
All right.
Yes. Now, just to give you some background, for those people who are not in, and even for some people who may be in education world, one of the leading reports that comes out that policymakers, lawmakers, state boards of education, Congress, U.S. Department of Education looks at is the annual Kids Count Data Book. And they put this report out every year, and it reports on multiple factors. One of the most trusted reports that it puts out is the state rankings on overall child well-being, and then they even look at the education. The one on health and finance, it's give or take, but certainly overall child well-being and education for and this is K through 12 education. They look at this and they utilize this to make laws, policies, set budgets, determine what objectives will be, and what goals will be. They really utilize this, and I'm surprised I haven't even brought this before, but this is not the only one, but it's one of those way up there trusted reports that policymakers look at. And the map you see there is looking at, it's the state map with regard to child well-being. When you scroll down, it actually gives you the ranking um by quartiles. And so you'll see number one is New Hampshire, and you know last is New Mexico. And you see where they say your child ranks in well-being. If you go up a little bit, really be, they'll tell you the parameters, the paragraph right next to the map. It go up a little bit more. Yeah, right there. Um it usually gives the parameters. I don't think it does. I don't think it did this time. But normally it'll give you the different uh, uh um parameters that they use in order to judge, or indicators that they use in order to make their determinations. You can go back down so people can see where their respective states rank. So this is where each state ranks in terms of child well-being. And like I said, there are several indicate. Let me see if I can get what those indicators are for well-being. I used to know them by heart because when I was having to know all of this stuff, I used to have to know it by heart. But um but that's where the state lands. Each state lands in terms of child well-being. Interesting enough, you see a lot of uh, uh, um, small states end up being at the top, and a lot of the large states are toward the bottom half. The largest state that I can see in the top 25 is probably Illinois and Pennsylvania, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But New York, Florida, California, Texas are all in the second half, and that's for child well-being. Um, and you'll see it's almost always, not always, but it's a very close indicator for education. Now, if you click on the education tab, it will it'll show you where um states land for education. And if you notice now, Florida went up to the top half. California, Texas is still in the second half. I think New York was in the second half too. And I'm just looking at some of the larger states. Once again, New York went up. New York went way up in terms of education, so that's good. There may be some things that New York is doing within their uh, um, within their Department of Education, or within the local school systems and school boards and school districts and so forth. And or they just may have figured out how to have their students test well, and perform well in those key indicators. I will tell you, I used to teach all 16 indicators. Um, States want to perform well on this, so they will direct school districts and administrations at schools to make sure that they are hitting all of those key indicators. It's not just statewide assessments. There are several different indicators for this. I'm trying to see if I can pull it up now. Um, and of course, when I need to find something, I can't find it. But hold on. Uh, uh really, be you got something to say while I'm looking this up?
No, I just want to say, so when we start talking about again, when we start looking at, let's look at what it says on the education, since this is what we focus on over here. And I will put this link in the chat, so if you guys want to really dig deep into it. But it says that when they're looking at these indicators, they're talking about establishing the conditions that promote educational achievement for children, quality of prenatal care continuing through early education years. Adolescent also represents a pivotal window. And it says that they're focused on closing these gaps, even though our country continues to have issues with in these areas. And again, of course, I'm going to always look for my state. So my state is ranked number 18 as far as where I teach, and the District of Columbia. No, I can't find the District of Columbia. I know it ain't at the top. Lord, the District of Columbia ain't even on here, y'all. Hold on.
It
I might be
is.
going too
Well, I
fast.
thought I saw it. Hold on.
Hold
I
on.
thought I
Where's it?
saw it. I don't see it. I don't see it either. But I saw it on. It was on an overall list I saw. But this one just has the 50 states, and
Right.
maybe it
And
just left
contrary
in
to
state.
popular belief, DC is not a state, you guys. I argue with I don't know why I have to keep arguing with people about that, but people still don't seem to understand that DC is not a state. But
But
okay.
in terms of education, um, here are the indicators. I found it. For education is young children not in school. That's ages 3 and 4. For this, that's the first one. The second one is fourth graders not proficient in reading. The third indicator is eighth graders not proficient in math. And the fourth one is high school students not graduating on time. So those are the four key indicators for education. For child well-being, um, um, uh, overall child well-being. You have children in poverty, children whose parents lack secure employment, children living in households with a high housing cost burden, and teens not in school and not working. They also factor health, because all of this plays a part into it. Things like low birth weight babies, children without health insurance, child and teen deaths per 100,000, as well as children and teens ages 10 to 17 who are overweight or obese. That is one. And then the last one is family and community. They look at children in single parent families, children in families where household heads lack a high school diploma, children living in high poverty areas, and teen births per 1,000. And so they look, and so you can actually, when you go to this map, and really B's going to put it in the chat, you can click on your state. And when you click on your state, it'll give you the percentages in each area. It has it color coded. For
Excuse me.
example, really be click on, go to the map and click on Florida. I mean, Maryland, your state.
Oh, yeah, Maryland. There you go. Oh, I went too fast.
It has
Sorry.
a box on the side. On the side. Oh, okay. Then there's that. Now scroll down, and it'll start to show you some of the statistics for those key indicators. And this is just for the 4 education indicators. Young children not in school, ages 3 and 4, where they placed, 4th graders not proficient, and how they did. So, and then you can look at each one of those. If you click on, go back up, really, B. Just wanted to show the color coded one, and then click select another location. Or no, don't click that. Click the tab at the top that says overall child well-being. All right, and then when you scroll down, this is where it shows you, whether you're in the green, whether you're in the red, and so forth, and how you rank. So, a lot of stuff they got in the green in terms of child economic, but a lot of their stuff is in the red for Maryland with the specific education indicators. So,
You want me to choose another state and just
yeah,
look
I
at
mean, you
it?
can. Yeah, you can. Let's look at Texas, since they're always in the news. Texas and Tennessee and Florida. So, but like I said, this is the stuff that lawmakers look at. Like they study this report. Um, yeah. Now they did good with children living in poverty, but children whose parents lack secure employment, um, they weren't as good. And then children living in households with high housing cost burdens, they're not doing so good. So you see, they give you with the better or same is in comparison to the previous year. So
Yep. So again, I put the link in the chat.
so and the point that I was making was, when you start to look at this on the education level, these are things that are going to guide where the focus is for that state board of education, that district or superintendent, school board, I should say, focuses and objectives, and then they will trickle that down to school site administrators and further into the classroom. Some of this stuff is out of the control of education, but those things, certainly those 4 indicators for education: young children, 3 not in school, 4th grade. So that's where you will have states that may do more things to promote pre-K and other programs. When you start looking at 4th graders not proficient, notice they said 4th graders and not 3rd graders, because normally in most areas it's the 3rd grade proficiency, and they say, nah, let's look at the 4th grade and see where they are in 4th grade, because by that time, if you're sitting in 4th grade, you should have determined that you are proficient, they say, in reading. So that's why they look at the 4th grade. at that time. They look at eighth grade math, which is very interesting because most people look at really, we can tell you, most curriculum people talk reading, 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 some math, but a lot of reading. And the fact that they said it's eighth grade math as opposed to just eighth grade reading tells a lot. And then they look at the high school graduation rates or students not graduating on time. Um, so it's a really good report if you are education nerds like we are, um, or at least like I am. These things interest you, and you go, "Oh, okay." And so, like I said, I used to do a lot of instruction on this to administrators and to teachers in districts.
Yeah. Excuse me. Yeah. So, all right, I'm gonna stop sharing it. But you guys, so yeah. So hopefully that's something. The link is in the chat. You guys, if you want to take it, clip it, and like El Teddy said, not all of the indicators deal with education. Some of them are things that are outside of what education does or does not cover. However, comma, it does connect to the whole child. And just like we always advocate to you guys when we start talking about being more of an active part of your world, those are the types of conversations that when you go to the city council meeting, when you go to the school board meeting, those are the types of questions you can say, well, hey, based on the data, dot, 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 and what are we doing to fix it? What are we doing to address it? What are we doing to provide programming that's out there? And like El Teddy said, when you started hearing a few years ago, I know here in DC and Maryland, it was a big campaigning issue. Oh, we're gonna universal kindergarten for all kids, universal kindergarten, universal pre-K. All kids had to, and what we ran into in DC was we literally, because they wanted all kids in school in kindergarten. Then we literally had kids that were coming to school because there was no parameter. We literally had kids coming to school that were not potty trained, and literally teachers were changing diapers, which is never a part of our job. Not saying that kids don't have accidents. Kids do have accidents. I ain't talking about that. I'm talking about diapers, not training pants, diapers. So, yeah. But anyway, another conversation. All right, you guys. Well, we're about to head on over to El Teddy's house. He is going to give us an update on all the shenanigans that are going on, especially out in LA. And then I probably won't be live until after 7. I think I'm just going to wait and do the Real Housewives of Miami unless I'm really, really, really compelled to do a live, which right now, the way I feel like I need to take a nap. So I probably won't. But make sure y'all head on over to El Teddy's house because he's got some stuff to share with us, you guys. And I will talk to y'all later. Last words, Doc? Any last words?
Stay informed. Don't let them make you think that you can't walk and chew gum at the same time. We can pay attention to multiple things at the same time, and we can keep our foot on their necks about multiple things at the same time. So we'll continue to keep you all informed and make sure that we bring you the latest and greatest news to help you be great.
All right. Well, we will see you guys next week. Thanks for hanging out with us. And listen, we still need about 1,800 watch time hours to try to get this channel monetized.
I thought we just at 1,000.
I don't remember anymore. I don't know. I'll look at it again. But it's 67 of y'all in here. If everybody goes, listen, can we give y'all a homework assignment? Can everybody just go watch 3 old episodes?
Please watch.
Go watch 3 old episodes.
That's what we need everybody
Hey,
to do.
Today, what's up, girl? All right, y'all. We'll talk to y'all next week. Peace. I got to go back and look at the amount of hours. I don't remember.